Canine Longevity is presented by Myos Pet, the leaders in pet muscle health.
They say the gut is one of the most important organs in the body, and when there's gut inflammation, it can not only cause cardiovascular disease in people, type 2 diabetes, but even in cognitive dysfunction. Well, believe it or not, it most likely has the same effects in the dog. And on this episode of Canine Longevity, we're going to be talking to a specialist in all things gut medicine and gut inflammation, Dr. Holly Gantz. And I can't thank you enough for showing up for this. I'm totally geeked out on this topic, and thank you for joining us.
I'm so excited to get to talk to you today.
Yeah, so I stalked your history, and I saw ecology, and of course the microbiology, and your history, and all the universities you're at. What led you down this path? So, because you have such a diverse background, and all of a sudden I see you're the lead specialist in this. Tell me a little bit.
Sure, I'm definitely a biology geek, so I was studying evolutionary biology and community ecology, which is how different organisms interact with each other in ecosystems, and got really interested in animal microbe interactions, but more from sort of the pathogen side of parasite side of things, because that's kind of cool too. But as microbiome science became to develop after the innovations in sequencing, we were able to look at whole communities of bacteria and other microbes in our bodies that affect our health. And so as someone who's really interested in how different organisms interact with each other, I just was amazed at those. So I was studying soil communities while I was looking at wildlife disease, and I thought maybe this could be helpful for companion animal health, because I had adopted a herding dog when I was a grad student, and I fell in love with her, and she bossed me around for her whole life, and she was like my child. And so I decided, maybe I should have gone and become a veterinarian, except that I really love research. And so I switched my research to focus more on the gut microbiome of cats and dogs.
So help us understand, for those listening, I geek out on gut microbiome, but explain what gut microbiome is to the listener, because they may not understand even what that term means. Can you explain a little bit?
Yes, it's actually a whole community of little tiny microorganisms that live in and on our bodies and on our pets' bodies, and the soil and on plants as well. And but the gut microbiome, right? So we have this GI tract passing through us. It's really sort of external to us, and so one of the two big things that it does is, right, it allows us to take in food that we need for nutrients, and then we have to digest it. But pathogens and other things can come in there, and so the other really critical role that it serves is to protect the body from invasion while we're taking in these essential nutrients. And so I consider it like a rainforest in our gut, this complex community that's doing a lot of really important things, and but also protecting us.
So when you have a pathogen or inflammation, there's this term I've come across in humans, I don't know if it applies in our veterinary space, but the leaky gut syndrome. So I guess you have gut inflammation for some cause, and then they get this leaky gut syndrome, or is that a term that we see in the vet space that you hear as a buzzword in the human space?
Well, my understanding is that the gastroenterologists don't really like that term, at least in human medicine, and I think that's similar. You could probably tell me in veterinary medicine, but people like it because and we have some evidence that it's happening. We just don't have really good tests for it, I think, is the real issue there. What can happen with inflammation, right, is that the barrier loosens up, and then we see translocation of bacteria and other things passing through, so the body isn't as able to protect against those things getting through. And we can see that actually in the blood. We've been experimenting with, I'm doing microbiome testing of blood. And we're not saying there's an ecosystem in your blood.
Sure,
there should not be.
Right.
But with dogs with chronic enteropathy, we published a paper showing that we assume there's leaky gut or something happening in there. We can actually see all of these bacteria in their blood. We don't know that they're viable, but they're there. They probably got through a leaky gut.
So how does a pet parent know that their pet may be having any kind of gut issue or issue with their microbiome or things? What's going to be the clinical sign that they may appreciate at home, or is there any? Is this just something they should check intermittently? What do you say to the average pet owner? What should they be watching for?
I mean, I personally, because I'm a microbiome geek, I think you should, you can test, and we've made an affordable test available so that you can sort of see how your pet's microbiome looks. And we know that having a diverse community serves a lot of really important functions and can help provide resilience. Say they get a Giardia infection or they have to take antibiotics down the road. But the main way people start to think about it is that their pet starts to have chronic diarrhea or they chronic vomiting. Those are sort of two of the main things. Constipation is also another common symptom. And then, but the surprising thing for people also is that like these chronic skin conditions are also can be like correlated with having an imbalance in the gut and a loss of beneficial gut bacteria.
Got it. So would you term this looking at biomarkers of the gut, or is it GI mapping? Like we hear all these terms like GI mapping, and to me, I'm like, are we going on a field trip, or so what do they mean when they say GI mapping, or what's that buzzword?
Yeah, I mean there are now like capsules, but I don't think that's what they mean. But that's really what it should be, right? That's implying like a spatial like mapping of what's, like when.
But I see these test kits.
If you have to do colonoscopy and they have to like do that, and but usually I think they're. I don't know, but from the pet space, like we're just looking at fecal test as a indication of what's happening inside there, and getting a lot of information there. And what I like about that is that it's a lot less invasive than like doing endoscopy or something else.
Absolutely.
Canine Longevity is presented by Myos Pet, the leaders in pet muscle health.
As dogs age, muscle loss can quietly steal mobility and quality of life. But what if science could help change that? Myos Muscle Formula with Fortitropin is an all-natural science-backed ingredient shown to help build and maintain muscle while reducing muscle breakdown with over a decade of research and real results. Because stronger muscles means more moments together. Myos, more time together.
So I'm going to go down a slippery slope here with you. So when we talk about gut inflammation in humans, I geek out on the dog side and the people side. Let's talk about going to the grocery store. So we go to the grocery store and they say that the healthiest way that we all should be eating is we go around the perimeter of the grocery store, right? You have your vegetables and all those, and everything down the center aisles is processed food or ultra processed foods. But in those center aisles is also dog foods. And when you look at some of the ingredients of some of these dog foods, they are super, super ultra processed as well. And some of them, even though I have all this scientific background, I can't even pronounce some of the ingredients that are in some of these dog foods. And I'm not beating up on anyone in particular. Do we believe that some of those ultra processed foods can be causing gut inflammation in our canine patients, or just like we see in people? Is there any thoughts there?
I think, I think that I care a lot about the sourcing of the food, and I think that you could say that some of those more processed foods are getting ingredients that come from sources that we may feel less comfortable about if we knew all of the details. Just like with some human foods too, right? I mean, like I care about how the cattle are cared for, and because as an animal lover, that's important to me, to have humanely raised animal products. And I think that's the bigger issue. I think these companies have invested a lot in creating like nutritionally balanced, complete diets, and that for the most part, unless you're getting a budget kibble, it's probably not causing inflammation per se.
So we're pretty comfortable with most of the standard diets out there by the large manufacturers, that the ingredients in there aren't really necessarily throwing off the gut. Or has anyone even looked at that? Have we looked at that?
No, I mean, I think that a lot of the top companies have looked at microbiome studies, there is a big movement though towards fresh food, and
that was my next question.
And it is different. And so and we've done a lot of research on like what does the healthy microbiome look like in pet cats and dogs, and we do see an effect of the dry diet per se, more so than so there's a form factor that matters, like is it a canned food, a fresh food, frozen food, or kibble, and we see a strong effect of the dry diets, which makes sense. They tend to have more fibers in them, and with cats, we can identify a cat that has any kibble in its diet with over 90% accuracy, just based on looking at these biomarkers of just gut bacteria. And it is possible that some of those diets are contributing to metabolic disease.
That was my question.
And so there may be inflammation associated with that, but I can't say I have no papers that have found that.
But you had a herding breed, or still have a herding breed?
I do have, yes.
So that's my primary. I see a lot of sporting dogs. So I see the border collie, Aussie, you name it. That's what I see. And a lot of those pet parents have their dogs on raw. They have them on raw diet. Do you feel that there's any benefit? And that's such a slippery slope, right? When you start talking about diets, from a gut, health standpoint and inflammation, is there any benefit for these clients that are on a raw? I mean, it's challenging for them to do that and travel, but do you see any benefit? I know you're not a nutritionist, but we're talking about gut health, and nutritionists don't always touch on gut health.
Yes.
So it's that fine line between the two. Any sense on raw diet?
We have done several diet studies, both raw and fresh and kibble diets. And I do feed one of my dogs a raw diet, and when prior to starting Animal Biome, I didn't really know a lot about raw diets, but a lot of our customers told us that they had a cat or dog who had IBD, inflammatory bowel disease, and that they had found switching to a raw diet to be beneficial. And at that time, there was a lot of pushback within the veterinary community. Like, you couldn't even talk to your veterinarian about that, which is it's never good if you can't.
It's taboo. It's taboo. It's like weight loss and cancer. We don't talk about these things. So, yeah.
But now there are more raw diets that are at least high pressure pasteurized, so the food safety concern for some of them is less so. It does. What we do know, we did do a detailed study switching dogs between a kibble and a freeze dried raw diet.
What'd you find?
The microbiome is very different, and so I think it could be also with the IBD cases or chronic enteropathy, that switching things up may help get the microbiome out of a stuck state too. So I think it could be a useful tool to go from a kibble to a raw or vice versa, because when it gets in a sort of chronic inflamed state, it can be hard to shift things and get it back to a balanced state. Yeah. But it is a slightly different community.
Okay, no, it makes sense. Now let's talk about your company. Let's talk. So I'm done geeking out on diets and all the things with the inflammatory gut disease. Tell me a little bit about. It's a test kit that they'll use.
Yes.
You send it directly to the pet parent, or do they go to their vet's office to get the kit, and then do they send the sample back to you? And then what are they testing for? So help me understand, just start to finish, what they should be using and when they should be using it, and how do they even go about going down that path?
Well, they can buy it directly from us, or we have over 1,000 veterinarians who work with us, and where they can bring in a stool sample to the veterinarian and we'll put it in the vial. So we basically, the test kit, we can mail it to them. Okay. We can also drop ship for the veterinarian to make their lives easier.
So the owner can go on your website, they can order a kit, it's going to come to them, they go to sample, they're going to put it in a little container, ship it right back to you.
Exactly.
Okay, and then you're going to process. And how long before they'll get the results?
We say 2 weeks. It's usually less than that. It's usually more within a week. But we like to,
Results are going to the pet parent, or results are going to the vet?
We can do both, actually. So,
fantastic.
And you can share it with your vet as well. So you just put their email address in there. Okay. And so it goes through the mail, so you don't have to go someplace special to send it to us. And we actually do our own testing in-house. So
they get the results back.
Yes.
And there's going to be normals and abnormals, and you have some information as to what each one of these tests, that each content of the test was and what the results are. Do you give a little bit of guidance, or is it saying, hey, go talk to your vet about these results? So help me understand that.
Yeah, so we do give a lot of guidance, and we give some general recommendations. It's always best if you can get your veterinarian involved.
But sometimes they don't understand this stuff.
Yeah, no, and they don't always have time to talk about diet and supplements, which is really what we focus on. But so we try to make it as actionable and useful as possible, and we also do offer 15-minute consults so that you can get some help understanding what are these bacteria and what are they doing.
So they get the results. They've talked to you now. There are supplements as well, or things that you recommend as far as diets or supplements that they take based on those results?
Yes, and we have a very unique supplement that's sort of our flagship product, which is basically contains beneficial bacteria from healthy cats and dogs that you can't get anywhere else.
Okay.
It's a very, very effective.
So they should,
for a range of conditions.
Should all dogs just be on that automatically, or should we test first and then you place them on based on their results?
It depends on, sometimes people don't want to wait for the results, but if it's, many of them would benefit from it. I think that testing can help you know if maybe you want to add more protein or fiber to the diet to help support that community and push it in the direction you want it to go. So I think it's useful to do. And also sometimes they have like an overgrowth of E. coli, and there are other things that can help to knock that down. So there's some pathobionts like E. coli or streptococcus that it's good to know if they're flaring up.
This segment of Canine Longevity is brought to you by Equiseer for dogs, combining light therapy, infrared, and neurostimulation to help support canine comfort and movement.
It sounds like there's two different variations that they can go through. For the owners or pet parents to say, I'm not so comfortable collecting a sample from my dog or doing any of this kind of scientific stuff. They can go into their vet's office, and the vets, even if they don't carry the kits, this is something the pet parent can order for them and take the kit in, or is it something then the veterinarian has to order and help with the test sample collection?
I think that it depends on the veterinarian if they're okay with them bringing it in, but they can order it directly, or the veterinarian, like we have these bulk kits for veterinarians to keep in the clinic, and then they basically, there are instructions that are very similar between what goes to the in-home test, and then they just basically pop a little bit of poop in 2 vials, gives us a backup in case the first one doesn't work, and then it goes in a bubble mailer in the mail, and if it goes through your veterinarian, then it goes through FedEx, so it gets to us a little bit faster, prioritizes it, but otherwise it's the same.
Okay, so the kit, what's in the boxes, because this will be the one going to the veterinarian, you have another box that is the one that would go to the pet parent if they order directly and they feel comfortable collecting the sample. And you have directions on how to collect the sample.
That's right. And we give them gloves and a swab and some tools so that they can keep everything clean.
Okay, and then they can FedEx it themselves, or it's regular mail, or
just USPS.
Okay, perfect. And then you said about 2 weeks for them to get the results, 2 to 3. What's in the kit? So what are you testing for? So if you can walk us through some of the, I use the word that GI mapping or markers. Tell us what are you looking for?
So basically we extract DNA, and then we use that to characterize all of the bacteria that have been described, which are in databases. So we basically are mapping the bacterial DNA to a database. It allows us to understand if they have all of the groups of bacteria that healthy dogs have, or if they have certain pathogens, which are really well known. And then we create a report that gives them useful insights into how they might be able to restore balance or we tell them if their pet's microbiome looks great.
How often does that happen?
It does
that it looks great
happen. I will say some people, they want to do it to get a gold star, and then they're disappointed, but then they realize like knowledge is power, and like if you can, some of us need more fiber in our diet, some of us need a little more protein, right? Some of us are more sensitive to sugar, and the microbiome is mediating a lot of that, and so it's useful to understand this composition to.
So how often then are the results that are coming back, the recommendation next is going to be do a diet change or add a supplement in or a pre or probiotic? What is many times your recommendations that you're going to find based on those results, or is it kind of a mixture of all of those?
The best thing is if you can have someone help guide you with that. We tend to make more recommendations at what we call a macronutrient level, like more protein, more fiber.
Okay.
And because those are really obvious. So in the case of like IBD in dogs, if they don't have enough fusobacterium, which is a group that helps to degrade protein, it's associated with the development of chronic inflammation in IBD. But if they have too much, so an absence of it is associated with IBD, but if you have too much, then it can also promote inflammation. So I consider like a Goldilocks group. So often we're saying maybe you need to modulate the amount of protein or fiber.
Okay.
Sometimes they need digestive enzymes because they already have a really high protein diet, but the protein loving bacteria are not showing up, which may implicate some kind of problem with the production of enzymes. Or maybe the stomach isn't acidic enough, things like that.
Okay, 2 more questions. Prebiotics, probiotics. So for dogs, it's a hot topic in humans, obviously for us. What about for dogs?
It's the same. So there's prebiotics, probiotics, and postbiotics. And I know these terms are terrible for everybody outside of the industry. So pre is like the food that the bacteria eat, prebiotics. And probiotics are the microorganisms themselves that can be yeast, like Saccharomyces boulardii, or bacterial probiotics. They are defined as having a benefit, having been shown to have a benefit, and that's why they're manufactured and made into a probiotic. A lot of them come from like food-based, like yogurt, bacteria, things like that. And then postbiotics are like, I like to consider what the bacteria poop out after they eat the prebiotics, and so they're beneficial compounds produced by the probiotics
Okay.
in the gut.
Now, supplements. You guys carry through your company a supplement as well. Can you just talk us about what the supplement is, maybe what's in the supplement, and when you would be recommending that to the pet parents to give to their patient, or to our patients, to their dog?
Absolutely. So we have a range of supplements, but our flagship supplement is basically contains freeze-dried bacteria that have been isolated from the stool of healthy cats or healthy dogs. And so it's a very diverse community of beneficial bacteria, many of which we've found to be really sensitive to antibiotics.
Okay.
We also do have things like Saccharomyces boulardii, which can help resolve diarrhea. And we've been really working with our veterinary clinics that work with us to have them go to that before they go to metronidazole.
Okay.
Trying to be a little more better about, because metronidazole and other antibiotics really kill off these beneficial gut anaerobes. And things like S. boulardii actually can resolve diarrhea just as effectively.
Okay. And that's something that
We
they
have
can
that.
get through yours.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
It's not proprietary, but we were, when we started it, we were the only ones in the vet.
And do you have any other supplements that through your company you sell as well?
We do. We also have a prebiotic that helps address E. coli, which can flare up. And it's also associated with a loss of diversity in the gut and antibiotic exposure. We have a really wonderful fiber blend that we just launched that has fast, medium, and slow fermenting fibers in it. It's a nice balance. And then we have mushroom blend. We're trying to do more and more to support good gut bacteria.
So I can't thank you enough for your time. This information is incredible. I could geek out on this all day long. And for pet parents that want some more information, how do they find you, your website? What is your information?
You can find us at animalbiome.com.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And this has been Dr. Sherman Knapp with Canine Longevity. Remember, it's about your pet's health span, not just lifespan.
Good girl, Fachi.
Canine Longevity is presented by Myos Pet, the leaders in pet muscle health.